dears, it's me, ordinary girl trying to be fabulous, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to my subscribers. Welcome to my new subscribers, and welcome to those of you who are not subscribed. If you are not subscribed and you enjoy my content, I hope you will consider doing so. And then, even if you don't enjoy my content, I hope you'll consider subscribing, because even if you don't enjoy my content, I'll never tell. And besides, if you subscribe, you'll make two little doggies very, very happy. And who doesn't want to make two little doggies very, very happy? I know that my little doggies would be very happy, and so I would be happy. So please subscribe. So today we have a story time, and this happened very recently, like Monday. So, okay, it all started out, this is kind of like a weight loss channel, sort of. I like a little sweet treat, and I like to make my sweet treats healthier, make kind of healthier choices. So I was in the grocery store a week or two ago, and I bought these oat milk popsicles. They're oat milk. They were salted caramel, thinking, well, I love salted caramel. Salted caramel is one of my favorite flavors, and I heard oat milk was pretty good, so I bought these popsicles. And, trying to make healthier choices, and so I, it was Mother's Day. Like I said, this happened very recently. It was Mother's Day, and I had eaten a very big lunch. I'd made my mom a pound cake because it was her favorite kind of cake, and so I'd eaten that, and it was the end of the evening, and I wanted a sweet little treat, so I was like, well, I have these popsicles, and I went and I opened a box, and I started eating one, and I was like, sitting there, I had eaten a quarter of it, and all of a sudden, my ear canals started itching, like burning and itching like they were on fire. And I have a pollen allergy, and it usually affects my nose and my ears. So I was just thinking, wow, the pollen must be like off the charts today, and it's causing my ears to itch. So I kept on eating my popsicle. Didn't pay attention. Eventually, that went away. And then all of a sudden, I'm like sitting there, and I'm thinking, my lips feel funny. And then, so I'm thinking, wow, these allergies, they're really bugging me. So my lips felt funny. So I went and took a Benadryl. And, I take a Benadryl, I don't have a problem. And then all of a sudden, I'm sitting there, I'm going, swallowing is really hard. That's really weird. So I was like, okay, that's really weird. That's never happened before. This has never happened to me before in my whole entire life. This is totally a first. Yeah, even though I have allergies, I'm allergic to pollen, I've never had an experience like this before. And so in the back of my head, something says, you in danger, girl. You need an ambulance. But I'm stubborn because I'm thinking, I don't want to go to the hospital. So I took another Benadryl. And that helped. The Benadryl helped a little bit. So I was sitting there, and I was like very uncomfortable, and my face felt kind of hot, and really itchy, and I'm getting really concerned. And so I go to my bathroom, and I take a flashlight with me, and I open up my mouth, and I look down my throat, and my tongue, I probably was talking like this and I didn't even know it, because my tongue, your tongue is usually like that. My tongue was like that. I mean, because when you have a sore throat and you open your mouth and you go, ah, you can like see the back of your throat. My tongue felt very thick and it was swollen like that. It almost covered the back of my throat. I could barely see the back of my throat. I could see like, because you have your uvula and it's like heart shaped. I could see a little bit of it, and what I could see on this side of my throat was swollen. Like, I don't know if it was my tonsils or my adenoids, but something back there was swollen. And so, of course, it's Mother's Day, so I'm spending time with my mom, and I'm thinking, and in the back of my head is screaming, "You need to go to the doctor. You need to go to the ER. Call an ambulance." So, I'm with my mom, and my brain is talking to me. My little voices in my head, take from that what you will, is talking to me, telling me I needed to go to the ER. But I didn't want to go to the ER. And so I tell my mom about this experience I'm having, and she was kind of like, yeah, because just all of a sudden you became very agitated and started pacing back and forth, and I couldn't figure out why. So I was I was like, well, at first I was like, well, I took Benadryl. I'm gonna be fine. I don't need to go to the ER. And then I think, yes, you do. You need to go to the ER. So we're sitting there and we're talking, and I still feel okay. Not great, but I feel okay. And then you know, after a couple more minutes, I was like, whoa, I really think I need to go to the ER. So I go to my dad and I tell him I need to go to the emergency room. And he's like, why? I was like, because I ate this popsicle and my throat is swelling. So he's like getting ready to go to the emergency room. So yeah, at that point, I'm like, yeah, I do. I need to go to the emergency room. Even though I didn't really want to go, I just want to get better on my own. But yeah, I was like, I need to go to the emergency room. And then, so my dad was in his pajamas, so he's getting dressed. And like a minute passes. And up until this point, I could breathe pretty well. But then at a certain point, I'm like, I was like, and my mom is sitting there. I was like, Mom, you need to call me an ambulance. I need to go in an ambulance because this isn't getting any better. This is just progressively getting worse. And so she's like, okay. And so she calls me an ambulance and she explains what's going on. She tells them that my throat is swelling and my lips and tongue are swelling, and things just are getting progressively worse. And so they want to know if I fainted, which I hadn't yet. So they're like, well, lay down. We'll be there. Have her lay down and we'll be there in like a minute. So I sit on the couch and I'm like, and I try to lay down, but laying down makes me dizzy. So I don't want to be dizzy. So like I sit back up and I cannot breathe very well. But I can still breathe and I can still swallow, even though it's rather difficult to swallow because, I have a thing in my throat and it's swelling. So the ambulance gets there, and I think by this time my face had broken out and my lips were big and swollen and my tongue was big and swollen. I was having a little bit of trouble breathing, and so they looked at me and they're like, well, yeah, just by looking at me, they're like, yeah, you need to go to the emergency room. And at that time I could walk on my own. So I walked, I got in the ambulance, and that was my very first ambulance ride. I guess, you have a first time for everything. So, hospital's not too far away, and I'm like sitting there, and they're blowing through red lights, and I'm thinking, are they allowed to do that? And then I remember, I'm in an ambulance. Before this, my dad was going to take me to the ER, and I was going to ride in the car, and I decided not to. Because, my breathing was getting worse. So I'm like, no, no, I need an ambulance. So we tell my dad that I need an ambulance. So we call, they come, and they're following behind me. So, I get to the hospital, and it's very busy because the charge nurse is also the triage nurse. Nurses don't get enough credit. They are angels on earth. So, I have to wait like 30 or 45 minutes. And by this time, because after I'd eaten the popsicle, I was sitting there and my stomach started cramping and I started feeling nauseous. And so I'm like, well, I don't feel good. So I feel nauseous. And I think I waited. Well, I didn't keep time of it. I can't really say it was 30 minutes. It could have been 5 minutes because time was just it all feels like a fever dream. Let's just put it that way. So I had gone to the bathroom before, when I was going to go to the ER, before I went in the ambulance. I had gone to the bathroom. My stomach had started cramping. I had diarrhea, and I was feeling nauseous. So then when I'm sitting there on the stretcher waiting for the triage nurse to come and check me into the ER, my stomach started hurting a little bad, worse. And so I turned to one of the EMTs and I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. So I did. He helped me, he pushed the gurney to the bathroom, and I got up on my own and went to the bathroom because I could still walk on my own at this point. So, I went to the bathroom. I had diarrhea. I had really bad stomach cramps. And then, I'm like sitting there because they had given me like the emesis basin, or had they given that to me yet? See, I had to do this today because this is like I said, this is all like a fever dream. It's like, just all feels so surreal. So I started to feel really hot. And they took my temperature. I didn't have a temperature. I started to feel really hot, and I started sweating. And I was like, where is the emesis basin? Because I had to throw up. Oh, it was awful. So, at that point, I had been, except for the throat swelling, and then so it was a really good thing that I went by ambulance, because if I had gone to the ER in a car, I would not have been sitting back there when I started to feel real symptoms. Because at this point, I didn't feel, throat closing up, lips swelling up, tongue swelling up. Because then at this point, I got a rash on my face. My hands started swelling up. I got hives on my stomach. So I was getting increasingly worse. So it's a good time. I should have gone sooner, but it's a good thing that I went when I did, because I was already in the hospital. So the next thing that happens. So I'm on the stretcher. The triage nurse comes. He checks me in. They take me back to a room, and I can still walk, but I'm feeling a little dizzy, so I try to take it very easily. And I get off the stretcher, and I walk to my bed, and I lay down in it. And by this time, I had cramps in my stomach. My stomach was cramping so bad. If they had asked me, where is on a pain scale from 1 to 10, I would have said 20. And usually I'm a very good patient, and I don't cry out because, I don't know why. I just don't cry out. And I'm in my room, and I have these horrible cramps, and I'm balled up because I was laying on my back, because laying on my side made me dizzy. I'm laying on my back, and I'm in a ball, and I'm just crying because the cramps are so bad. Oh my goodness. And I'm so dizzy that I can't get up. to tell them I need to go to the bathroom. And, you know, so this is the gross part, and it's so embarrassing, but I did have a little mess because, well, if you had cramps this bad, you would have had a mess too. Messes happen. I was in the emergency room and they were prepared. So I was like, I tell them that I had a mess, and they give me some wipes to clean up. They're like, the wipes don't get flushed, and they give me like a bag to put my clothes in, like 2 bags to put my clothes in because probably smelled pretty bad. And then they give me some paper pants and some paper panties, which I don't know what those paper pants are made out of, but they're very hot and sweaty. And I was like sitting there, and you know, after I had that, my stomach started to feel a little better, and so I'm feeling really dizzy. So they gave me an IV, which I don't know what was in the IV, but I know they gave me epinephrine, Benadryl, Zofran for the nausea, and something for the cramping. And that was pretty good stuff because after I took that, I was like able to, the cramps started to subside just very shortly after I took that. But the first thing they did was they made sure that I could like swallow water because my throat was closing up and my tongue was swollen. So there was a possible chance that water would just, you know, dribble out the side of my mouth because I couldn't drink anything. So yeah, they gave me that. The cramps started to subside, and then I was sitting in there, and the ER doctor said that cramps and nausea and vomiting are, along with the allergic reaction, are a sign of anaphylaxis. So I was like, okay. And I never in a million years ever dreamed that I would have anaphylaxis. But I did. And so he was like, well, we give you this medicine, we're going to give you the IV, and then we're going to observe you for about 4 hours. And I was like, okay. So my mom was there, and I had my cell phone, and I sent my dad a text message, and I said it's going to be about 4 hours. At that time, it was already like 12:30. So my dad tells my mom that she needs to go home and rest. So she does. And I don't blame her because it was 4 hours is a long time. And whatever was in the IV, I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom after about 2 hours, and then I went to the bathroom again after about 3 hours. And when I went again at about 3 hours, they looked at me and they saw that, you know, I was responding well to the medication and that the swelling seemed to be going down. And they looked in my mouth, and while my throat was still a little swollen, it was a lot better than it was. And so they're like, well, I think it's okay to send you home. And I was like, yay, because I was getting worried because, you know, they have like the pulse oximeter they put on your finger, and it measures your blood oxygen and it measures your pulse. So I was like, my pulse, when I came in, my pulse was like 115. When I first started having my allergic incident, my pulse was like 140 or 150. When I came into the ER, my pulse was like 115. And then I managed to, you know, breathe and be calm and get it down to, you know, 88, 89. And it was good. But then as time came closer to the time that I might be able to go home, my pulse went back up. And I was like, oh no, my pulse is so high. They're not going to let me go home with a pulse this high. But my pulse was really high, but my blood pressure was staying normal. So that was okay. Because if they had said, well, your pulse, you have a really high pulse, and we're concerned about that, I would have said, the reason I have a really high pulse is because I want to go home, and That's why. So my blood pressure was fine. My pulse was a little abnormal. So they let me go home. But first thing they did was they like took me off the medication and off of the blood pressure to see how I would respond to not having this flowing through my body constantly. And I stayed okay, and I stayed stable, and I didn't swell back up. So they figured I was fine. I was okay to go home. So they did send me home. And so they did finally send me home. And this time, because I thought I was going to have to stay for 4 hours, but I was responding so well to the treatment that they didn't see the need to keep me for an additional hour. And they sent me home after 3 hours. So I took a picture of the box of the ingredients because I have to go see an allergist. I have to find out what caused this. And I figure, the ingredients in the popsicle are a jumping off point to find out what I'm allergic to. And I'm not a doctor or an allergist, but the only ingredient on that box that I haven't really been exposed to is pea protein. So I'm going to get myself a t-shirt and it's going to say allergic to peas on it. And I just know someone's going to come up to me and go, you can't be allergic to peas because they're natural. You know what also is also natural? Bears. Bears are all natural, gluten-free, non-GMO. So there you go. Poison ivy is natural. Belladonna is natural. Arsenic is natural. Yeah, so you get my point. So they sent me home. I have a prescription for Benadryl, which I had Benadryl at home, the proper dosage. It wasn't like, prescription Benadryl or anything like that. I got a prescription for steroids, which I got a 4-day prescription for steroids. And this happened 2 days ago, so I have 2 more days. The pills are giant. They don't have any coating on them, so they are rather hard to swallow. So I have to stand there before I take my 2 steroids and pep myself up and tell myself, I can swallow this, I can swallow this, I can swallow this. And I'll have to add this. That's what she said. So, and then if I ever have an allergic reaction again, I have an EpiPen. Let me see, let me cover up my prescription information. I have EpiPens if I ever have. But since I'm pretty sure it's the popsicle, because it happened, the response started happening as I was eating the popsicle. I'm going to avoid all the ingredients that were in the popsicle. And the doctor or nurse told me, they're like, probably that brand of popsicles, it's a good idea to avoid that brand of popsicles until you know more about what you're allergic to. Which I still, in my non-medical opinion, I still think it's the pea protein. Which, I won't miss peas. I never liked them to begin with. So, yeah, no peas for me. And, I'm doing a lot better. That was a very scary thing that happened. I can't tell you how scary it is to, feel like your throat is closing up and, your face is swelling up and your lips and your tongue are swelling up. It's very, because, it's like your thing that's in there, do you breathe through? What is that called? Yeah, COVID brain is working. I'll be right back. So it's a trachea. And as soon as I shut off the camera to look it up, and I realized it's trachea, you dummy. So yeah, your trachea is right there. And I was like sitting there thinking, well, if my throat closes up too much, they might have to give me a tracheotomy. Well, I mean, if you have to, you have to breathe. So very scary prospect indeed. So thankfully, you can tell, no tracheotomy, because my throat didn't close up that much. I got there in enough time, and they were able to start administering the medication, and I was able to stay breathing on my own. Would they have done a tracheotomy or would they have intubated me? I don't know, but something would have been bad. And so the moral of this story is when you feel your throat closing up and you feel like you're having an allergic incident like that, call 911, go to the hospital, because it's nothing to mess with. And so with that, I'm going to log off. I want to say thank you for tuning in. This was a very interesting experience in my life. I would rather not experience it again. And if I ever have to use my EpiPens, I have to go to the ER, so I'd rather not have to use my EpiPens. And yeah, that's it. That's my story time. Now I say thank you again. Thanks for coming with me on this journey, and I will see you in the next video. I'll talk to you real soon. Thank you. Bye.